You're listening to the Mind Hiking Podcast. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and I just want to take a moment to thank you all for all your support. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I posted that we have officially crossed the 1 year mark since the birth of the Mind Hiking Podcast. And boy, does time fly. It is crazy to me that we have already crossed a full year of doing this. And when I started, I was like, man, that'd be cool. I don't want this to be one of those like fads that I go through where I think something's cool and I just like hop on it like full speed ahead and then just die out, which happens very often because my mind is all over the place and I love too many things. Like I get fascinated with too many things. I can find appreciation and respect and love for so many different things. Like you show me something that somebody enjoys or that you enjoy and you explain to me why you enjoy it and you show it to me and I'm probably going to love it as well. And I find that with many hobbies and many different things, and this podcast is absolutely one of them, but a lot of times I do find myself getting excited, going all in, and then just kind of tailing off, or hopping on to the next thing. But this podcast is absolutely different, and I'm making an impact. It's so cool to hear everything that you guys have to say and the impact that I'm making in your lives, and just I love the response when people reach out to me and say, hey, this episode really spoke to me, or hey, you said this in this podcast episode, like I was wondering your opinion on this, or here's my thoughts on this, or I love that. I love you guys reaching out to me, and I love the support, and I love knowing that you're listening. I love seeing this podcast grow. I love that you're sharing it, and I love that it's worth sharing. So I just wanted to right off the bat here let you know we crossed the 1 year, and I am so grateful for you guys, and I'm going to keep this going. I'm not stopping with this. I love doing this, and we're just growing stronger and stronger each and every day. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have noticed that I changed my bio to open your mind and be kind. And our episodes are so wide-ranging, and I don't think that there's a more perfect summary than that. It is such a wide-ranging podcast, and we touch so many topics, and we talk about so many different possibilities and theories, and it's such an open-minded podcast where we really do question everything. We really do weigh all the options and consider possibilities, and we really do keep an open mind, and then all the in-betweens are about bettering your life and being kind to others, and it's just like that statement I feel like encompasses everything. So I guess that's kind of my new, like, my first stated quote like that. I don't know. But I liked it, and I didn't even realize it rhymed until I actually typed it out. But yep, open your mind and be kind. I love it, and that's what we're all about here. So hopefully you guys are all aboard the Mind Hiking Podcast train, and let's keep this thing going. This thing's just gaining speed, and it's not stopping anytime soon. So with all that said, thank you so much, and stay tuned. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Brody Frye, and here we dive deep into difficult questions. We'll map out thoughts, theories, and crazy ideas for the love of knowledge and growth. So, how do we answer some of the mind's toughest questions? This is the Mind Hiking Podcast. All right, guys, welcome back. Go ahead and have a seat or get relaxed or get comfortable, or however you listen to the podcast. Grab yourself a tall, thick, juicy, pulsating glass of chocolate milk. Just kidding. That's disgusting. That is absolutely horrifying. Don't grab one of those. If that's happening to your chocolate milk, throw it far away. Get rid of that shit. That's disgusting. You're probably well past the expiration date if your milk is pulsating. Something's wrong there. Or that's not milk that you bought. That's something else. Anyways, I got a chocolate milk here. It's good. It's not pulsating. It is Nesquik though, and it's delicious. So grab something to drink so you can cheers me. Cheers. All right. Okay. So this this podcast is awesome. It's I love it. It's so cool to me that we're past a year of doing this, and that's amazing to me. It's time flies because it absolutely does not feel like that. But yeah, I love doing this, and it's cool that, like, looking back, it's cool that I even had enough to say. Like, that was a concern of mine. Like, would I run out of things to talk about? But there's so much to talk about, and like, I feel like we've barely covered anything on the podcast. I'm like, we barely even have like a baseline established. I feel like, because there's just so much out there, and there's just like so much that I love and so much that I want to talk about, and it's like how could I focus on a genre? It's like for when I made this podcast, you have to provide a topic, and they give you like a list of a bunch of stuff, and it's like I don't even know. It was just like a bunch of, like, it was a pretty large list of things, but like nothing sat right. Everything was either too focused in, and I'm not sticking in like just like, there's like business stuff. Like, you had like larger categories like business, and then you could get into like real estate podcasts, or like financial growth podcasts, or like whatever startup podcasts, or like, and then they had like comedic or comedy podcasts, and like it was a larger topic, and then like within that is different types of comedy, and then there's like like nonfiction podcasts, and then there's just like science and technology, and there's just so many different topics, and I'm just like, what's the most vague topic I can find? And that's what I chose. And that topic is people and culture. Because, a lot of this podcast is comedic, but it's not like this. Obviously, if you are a regular listener, you know that this isn't a comedy specific podcast. There's definitely more to this podcast than comedy. It's not for like comedic entertainment purposes. So I couldn't put it under that category, although there's a lot of humor in this podcast. There's a lot of joking, but it's like on the fence. There's a lot of comedy in this, but like it's not over the fence. It's like right on the point where I couldn't consider it a comedy podcast, but it's damn close. But I went with the people and culture because we talk a lot about culture, and I have different people on all the time, and we just go, and that is culture too. We're just having conversations, talking about life, and that's people and culture. So that's what I went with. But it's so cool. That was challenging for me, but it's amazing we've come this far. And like I said, I was afraid that I'd run out of things to say because I don't write scripts for these episodes. I'm sitting here like with nothing but a chocolate milk and the mic, and everything I pull out of my ass on the spot. This is all just off the top of the head. Every single one of my episodes. The only ones that aren't off the top of your head are Stephanie's episodes, Steffi Frye. All of hers, I think she's got one or two actually that are, I called her back for just like unscripted episodes, but the majority of her episodes are thoroughly researched on her end. I'm in there blind. Like I still am off the top of my head, like nothing in front of me. But she'll come in with notebooks full of stuff, and like she does, and she loves that stuff too. She does a lot of deep research into all the topics we're talking about, and hers are the only episodes that are supposed to be topic specific, but they're not. We end up just going off on all sorts of tangents, which I love. I love that for the podcast, and I love the stories. So, but hers are the only ones that have any sort of notation or like script, and which not even really. So, and we have yet to run out of things to say, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it is quite you guys all know, but it's just crazy to me crossing the 1 year. I'm so excited about it, and maybe I'm dragging it out too far, but I think it's something to celebrate. And plus, this is episode number 100, which again is that much more mind blowing. And 100 episodes. It's so cool to me. Like that's awesome. 100 episodes, 1 year, right at the same time. It's just a big celebration over here. And yeah, it's funny like how much the numbers mean things. Like technically this is just another episode, but I don't know, the numbers are funny. Like what if we established the numeric system differently? Like why did this number 100 happen to be like, why did we choose 9 digits before we go into double digits? Why is it just like, why did we structure it that way? It makes me think of like the American measuring system too, like inches and like feet. Like, and we were supposed to change over to metric like in the 90s, but we never did fully. I mean, the automotive industry is all metric, but like why aren't we fully metric? It's so weird because like whose idea was it to take a certain distance and be like, okay, this distance, we're gonna break this up into 12 segments. I don't know who decided that, but like this distance, let's just take this and then, yeah, let's just break it up into 12 pieces and call that inches. And then we'll split those inches into fractions of an inch. That's the dumbest thing ever. Why wouldn't it just be 10? Like why? Oh, I just don't understand who came up with this, the American system, the inches, feet, yards, like 3 feet. That's the dumbest measuring system ever. But that's what we use, and that's what we're used to. So we just keep on doing it, and it's too ingrained into our culture to change it now. But that's something I think about a lot. Like, why 12 inches in a foot? Why 3 feet in a yard? Like, why? I don't know. Just stupid questions that circle in my mind all the time. And that's probably why I haven't run out of things to talk about on the podcast, because I have the dumbest stuff circling in my mind constantly. Like, I can't go about my day without just hundreds of stupid things. I carry a notebook with me everywhere I go just because I have the dumbest stuff popping up in my head, and I'm like, ooh, I could talk about that. Ooh, I could talk about that. And then it's just like, oh, hi. Huh? I will be right back. I will explain in a little bit. I'm sorry. Peace. I have returned. I just had to pick up, dust off, and resharpen my old farm skills of doing stitches. Medical emergency for that. Sorry for the break, but Bailey just laid open the backside of her big pad on her front right paw. And just had to seal that up for her. Yeah, it was an old farm skill. I have to reassure Katie about it because she always likes to jump to take him to the vet, and which I understand, but when I was a farmer, I was a farmer, I was a vet, I was a dentist, I was a technician, I was a mechanic. When you're a farmer, you do everything. You're even a chef. And for on many levels a chef for ourselves, because we'd hunt and grow and cook our own everything, forage our own ingredients, and make everything ourselves, and even for the animals too. We were creating diets for the animals, and just creating batches with fat and protein ratios and percentages, depending on the season, whether it be like breeding season or whelping season, or accommodating for the babies, all sorts of dietary things. So it was a very, we did everything, and we saw a lot. There was a lot of like, I'm sorry, sweetheart, I love you, Katie, but I'm gonna out you here a little bit. But like, she calls me absolutely bawling, which totally understandable. Her baby comes in from outside, playing outside, gushing blood out of her paw, and she called me while I was at work, just bawling, saying how Bailey's. She didn't start off bawling, but she struggled with trying to tell the story of what happened without starting to cry. But it's adorable, and I appreciate it, knowing how much she cares about our little puppy baby, and she's got so much love, and I love that about her. But yeah. And she's like, there's blood everywhere. It's all over the carpet. And I'm just like, you're fine. She's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And she was still so upset. And I was just like, FaceTime me. And then I walked her through everything that we could do while I was at work. And then when I got home, I'll take care of the rest. But we just got to sterilize it and isolate it until I get there. And yep, that happened. And then she is just such a picker, and she's a miniature Australian Shepherd. So she just got she just so much anxiety, and she just picks, and she just reopened the wound and started bleeding again. So that's what the interruption was. So sorry about that. Don't exactly remember where we left off. A lot of times when breaks happen like that, I'll re-listen to what I already recorded, but this time I didn't. I just jumped right back in. So, but yeah, there's a lot of skills that we learned on the farm that still apply today to real life, and that are just either lost or not taught, or whatever the case may be. And now you go to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to have somebody read to you what to do and then get a certificate saying that you have an understanding of how to do this without the real skills, and then you can go out and do whatever it is that you wanted to do after whatever it may be, 4 to 10 years of schooling, and on top of all the other schooling, when you could have been getting real experience like I had. And though it might not look as good on a resume, which nowadays you hear otherwise. Like I talk to powerful people and business leaders, and they say that they specifically look for farmers. Like that, I've heard many times that if you have farming on your resume, that's a hired, damn near no questions asked. And especially depending on the amount of time you were a farmer, because it's not a joke. And there's just so many skills, and it doesn't look fancy on a resume just being a farmhand, but there's so many skills involved in being a farmer, and especially when you're working with animals, especially when you're doing a lot of animal handling and stuff, because the care of that, and like just management of people and teams, there's leadership skills, and there's just so many like safety procedures and things that people don't think about, like operating forklifts and big heavy tractors and skid steers and all sorts of weird machines, and just things that are so easy to be left out of a resume when you say farmhand, but technically that was your position, especially in the industry we were in, when we're loading and shipping and receiving inventory of tens, hundreds of thousands of pounds of food every day, and inventorying drive-in freezers that can fit 16 semi-loads was on our farm. And just like I said, leading teams and organizing and keeping track of that inventory, and then creating batches for the next day, and knowing a day ahead, because it's frozen feed, knowing what to do ahead of time and creating batches for the next day. And we made fresh food every single day, and this wasn't a joke. And it was a lot of skills learned, and that really apply today, but might not look as fancy on paperwork as a degree, but definitely are more valuable in life than a degree. And especially financially, a lot better off financially than a degree, because I'm starting even when somebody coming out of college is coming out of college at $250,000 in debt. So that's a nice little head start to life. So that's another subject that we could go on and on about, but there's a lot. But to each their own, and sometimes sometimes it's just something that you might be interested in, and it's unfortunate that nowadays we have to go through these procedures to do different careers that somebody might be interested in. Because I was always fascinated with the medical industry, and I was always just I was around a lot of injuries growing up, whether it be me or whether it be my friends or whether it be animals, a lot of animals, and a lot of traumatic, like just being around things that people nowadays would have to go to therapy to figure out. it was just a normal part of hanging out with me growing up, and just be like finding yourself in stuck positions where somebody is severely injured or about to be, and you got to think fast. It's part of the motocross racing, just thinking quick, split second decision making, and don't have time to freeze up, don't have time to think. You got to rely on your natural split second reaction and make a decision, and just scan the area and take in the information and make a decision, and know what needs to happen in the order it needs to happen, and to have the best outcome. And that was everyday life. And I'd find myself in positions where like we were out in the woods and something would happen, and you could scream as loud as you want for your mommy, but nobody's going to come running, and you're stuck out there as a kid, and something severe has happened, and you got to figure it out, and that'll grow you up quick. So yeah, it was a cool way to grow up, and you don't see that anymore. But it is trending. I think people are realizing mistakes of like the way kids are getting raised nowadays, and you see it's starting to become popular to get a farm and live off the land and grow your own food, because nobody trusts the government. Nobody trusts the food. Excuse me. Nobody trusts you go to Walmart and the meat, the ground beef is neon pink. And then when you go home and you throw it on the pan and you break it up, it's brown in the center because they spritz it with food coloring. How is that not illegal? It's insane, the poison they feed us. But yeah, it's a lot easier than you guys think to be self-sustaining and live off the land and grow your own stuff and provide for your own family, rather than picking up fast food on the way home from work and bringing it to your family and calling that providing for your family, because that's absolutely not. So skills to look into, skills to learn, and they're a lot easier than you think. It's just time consuming. The hardest thing is the learning process, but once you get a rhythm down, you'll see how easy it is. So really cool stuff to look into. But another huge tangent, side topic. But I love that about this podcast. You can talk about anything and everything. And I love all your support, and it means so much to me. 100 episodes again. It's so cool to me. But I think that is all I got for you. That took up quite a chunk of the night. So sorry to wrap this up a little bit sooner than I would have liked. I didn't really get around to some of the points I wanted to, but the medical emergency took up a lot more time. I know you guys didn't feel that, but it is quite a bit later into the night now. So I'm wrapping it up here and still got to eat dinner. So sorry for that interruption, but I know you guys understand, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for tuning in. Again, a year and 100 episodes. It's just amazing to me. So thank you so much. I'm going to keep on going, and I really appreciate all your support. Spread the word. I love seeing this podcast grow, and that's the best way to do so, is just tell somebody about it. Send somebody an episode that stood out to you, and keep on listening. So thank you so much, guys. Love you all. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll see you Monday, and peace out.